Hello everyone, my name is Paula Andrea Melo Chacon and I'm a student at UNAT University. Today I want to share with you my fairy tale called The Magic Wood. Once upon a time there was a considerate boy named Suki who lived in a village near the city of Yellowstone where people live comfortable around nature. Suki and his handsome grandfather Mr. Shen live on a very cozy farm, where they care for the 4 animals for their livelihood. One day, Suki went to the village to buy some vegetables for a delicious dinner that he wanted to make to celebrate his grandfather's birthday. Because Suki had been in town for a short time because his mother had died. On his way, he decided to take a shortcut through the Yuki Lake forest. It was not long before Suki was lost. The forest seemed to have changed as by magic. There were very strange trees, tall and leafy, and it was already getting dark. Suki looked around, but all he could see were trees. Nervously, he felt someone watching him. Suki began to panic, so he decided to find a safe place to think about what he could do. Unexpectedly, he saw a scruffy donkey dressed in a brown coat disappear among the trees. How strange, Suki thought. For lack of something better to do, he decided to follow the peculiarly dressed donkey. Maybe he could ride it out of the woods. The scruffy donkey was standing near a large cave, and Suki very carefully began to approach, and when he was very close to him, he offered him a small muffin that he was carrying inside his coat. When suddenly the donkey began to speak to him. The donkey was a talking donkey. Suki, with a big jump, fell backward and from the same fright accidentally hit his head and fainted for a while. After about half an hour, Suki awoke, and as he opened his eyes, he saw too closely the donkey's face look at him. And he said to him, "Hello, young man from the forest," said Donkey. Who are you and what are you talking?" said the young man. "I'm a donkey, and you understand me because this forest is a magical forest." "Did you know?" "Don't know the history of this forest," explained the donkey. "Oh, as this forest is magical, what happened in this forest? Perhaps all animals speak. My grandfather never told me anything about this forest." Surprised and confused, Suki told the donkey. There was a man living near the forest who was a famous woodcutter. One day, this man fell in love with a very beautiful woman who lived near the great lake that is near the village. So much they fell in love that they were about to get married. But one day, a giant bear that lived inside this forest devoured this woodcutter. One afternoon, entering the dusk, he couldn't escape the great angry bear. That was a tragic day. His future fiancée was devastated and so angry that he had in his heart resolved to put a spell on this forest, and the great angry bear was turning into the great cave, and all the animals that entered this forest begin to speak, so I can speak. "Oh, but what a strange story, and that woman is still alive?" asked Suki the donkey. "If clear now is a lone woman lives deep in the forest where I have heard it say people live in their bitterness and loneliness because they could never again find a man like that famous lumberjack whom they had fallen in love with." "Oh, that terrible news, and that fear began to get me," said Suki. Suddenly his stomach began to ring because it was already a little darker, and all he had was that muffin he wanted to offer the donkey. but unfortunately he had already eaten the donkey. The donkey suggested him to go down that road, because he was also looking to get out of there. So Suki followed him and they started going deeper in the forest. They hadn't walked much when they got caught in a trap. They were hung in a net on a tree with large branches. After more than an hour, frightened of what had happened to them, they thought of the angry animals that might be in the forest, and that were going to be someone else's food. Soon a strange noise began to be heard, and they could not see that it could be. Suddenly, a little mouse appeared who was looking for food and came out of the bushes. "Hello," said the little mouse. Sucky and the donkey answered. "Hello, can you help us?" they said instantly. The clever little mouse replied, "But I need something in return to get you out of there." "What do you want?" the donkey said. I'm looking for something to eat, as I was locked in a cage in the house of the witch, and I dove saved me. But I had to give her my piece of cheese that I had in my cage," said the little mouse. "Oh, and do you know how to get to that house? Maybe we can find something to get out of this forest," Sucky said. "Yes, of course, I could see a kind of a map in a picture that the witch has hanging in her room. You no longer need 10 trees to get there," said the mouse. "I had a muffin," the donkey said. "Like a muffin, didn't you eat it?" Sucky said. "No, I decided to keep it in case I couldn't get out of this forest," Donkey said. "Well, there's your muffin if you get us out of this trap," Sucky said. Okay, the mouse said. Soon the little mouse started to chew the ropes, and after a few minutes they were able to get out of the trap. When they arrived at the witch house, they saw that the witch had come out on her broom, and they soon entered the house. They started looking and the little mouse stayed outside the house to watch. Suddenly, the little mouse got a little careless because he saw a piece of cheese near some plants, and he didn't notice when the witch arrived. When the witch saw the intruders at home, she was enraged and locked them in the house. The little mouse leaned out the window because he heard the screams and thought he could do it, while Sucky and the donkey were frightened and paralyzed. The witch said, "Intruders in my house, what are you looking for?" The witch said. Sucky, in a low voice and stammering, said, We are looking for a map to get out of the forest because we are lost." The witch said, This forest is mine alone, and no one can enter this forest, for it is haunted." Suki said, "I am new in this village. I have little time living here, and my grandfather didn't not tell me anything about this forest. So I'm here also. When I got lost, I found this scruffy and peculiar donkey because he wears this brown coat, and I thought he was with his master." "I understand," said the witch. As the witch, Sucky, and the donkey conversed, the little mouse went to seek help somewhere. When in the distance he began to see a yellow light beginning to grow larger and larger, the clever little mouse got closer and closer when he saw that he was a handsome man with an axe and a flashlight. The cunning little mouse quickly came to her attention, and soon the handsome man heard him. "Hi, I need your help," said the mouse. "Hello, what can I do?" said the handsome man. "There's a young man and a donkey in a witch house near here," said the mouse. "It must be my grandson. I'm looking for a young man you're talking about. He hasn't come back since this afternoon." "If it's them, let's go fast before the witch puts some spell on them," said the mouse. Soon they went to look for them, and when they had arrived they looked out the window, and he could see that it was his grandson and his donkey. Bravely and quickly he walked in the door and stared at the witch. "Stop! Don't hurt them! It's my grandson and my donkey," Mr. Chen said. When the witch turned around, she was paralyzed, looking at Mr. Chen as if he had seen a ghost, remembered the appearance of her fiancé who had been eaten by a furious bear, and instantly changed his countenance and let them go. Suki, the donkey, the little mouse, and Mr. Chen were surprised by his attitude and quickly left the house and returned to the farm. Days later, thinking about what happened, Mr. Chen returned to the witch house and noticed that she was standing at the window. He knocked on the door, and after a few minutes the witch looked at the door. When Mr. Chen asked her, "Why did you take that attitude?" the witch replied, "You are identical to my dead fiancé. After seeing you that day, I thought about how hiding was my anger that I had not realized what I was going to do to your grandson and your donkey, and what I had done to the forest many years ago. That's why I've decided to reverse the spell of the forest and start a new life out of it. You don't have to go. You can live with us if you want. I had a small house that I started to build near my farm, as my grandson is growing and needs more space. So think about what I propose to you," said Mr. Chen. After a few months, the witch took the decision to move in the Mr. Chen and Suki's farm, and after a year they decided to join their lives in marriage. After all, the witch that the townspeople feared was not a witch, was a lonely woman in grief over the loss of her fiancé, and the magic forest returned to normal. The end.